What's up, guys and girls? It is about time we make a video on how to use Camtasia to record your screen, aka make a screencast for any instructional videos that you want to create. I've been using Camtasia since 2014 now. It is literally my favorite app. If you open up my iMac, for example, there are all these Camtasia files that I've made that I use to splice into other videos. Most of these are finished videos on YouTube, and some videos even have complicated animations and little tricks and hacks within them because I needed to do certain features to show things to my audience. So in the next 11 minutes or so, I'm going to show you a basic sample of things like annotations, transitions, and animations within Camtasia so that you can use it to make your own finished product video, and at the end we'll upload it to YouTube. I do use some other fancy features like Final Cut Pro to make my videos even crispier at the end, but Camtasia is more than enough to get you going and make a good instructional video for the world, which can even generate you some revenue if you do it the right way and showcase the right products. Okay, so the first step is pretty important. I want to get you guys a discount, so just open up the notes below the video and click on that link that says something like Get Camtasia Discount. Or if you want to type it in manually, it's just going to be dearblogger.org/Camtasia, and that's the page where I'll load up the latest and greatest discounts that I find for you guys. If you use that link, Camtasia also donates a portion of the price back to my channel at no extra cost to you, so you get to support the channel and learn something cool. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot if you choose to do that. And which brings me to my next point, which is that Camtasia is not free. But there's good news, which is that there's a free trial and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So right now, you can decide whether you want to buy it outright. If you do, you have this nice student discount here. Otherwise, you can just hover on products and click on Camtasia, and then you can click free trial. Alright, so assuming most people want to get the free trial, we're going to go this route today. Just remember that you can use my link and get that student discount later on, so you don't have to pay full price when you actually buy the software. Okay, so let's get Camtasia to your computer and let's start creating. You can either go with the Windows or the Mac, and I'm using a Mac, but the steps should be pretty much the same. So once you click that, you're going to get the automatic download. Alright, you can choose where you want to put Camtasia, like maybe just on the desktop is good, and save it. And it came right in. Now you just need to open the Camtasia file and go through the process of agreeing, set it up, and then click agree, drag Camtasia into your applications folder so you get Camtasia looking all nice and cozy next to your other applications in its new home like this. Then when you double click it to open it, it might ask you some basic details like your name, email, or even a product key, although I think the product key comes when you buy it, if I can remember correctly. In any case, just go ahead and double click it and you'll be ready to start using it. I'm not gonna go through this agreement and set it up again though, because I don't need two versions of it. What I do need is actually to upgrade the software, so I'm gonna do that real quick with us right here. I'm just gonna go to my account and then click on my products. So you'll have all this going for you once you get Camtasia. The software key is located right here if you needed it. And this also means in the introduction you got to see the older version of Camtasia that we've all been loving, so pretty cool. And now I'm just going to click learn more and upgrade because I want the latest and greatest Camtasia. Also shows you that I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So click and upgrade, and I'll complete this step and then I'll see you right back in our Camtasia. Alright guys, so quick heads up before we start creating. Camtasia is telling us that if we want to do the free trial, a watermark is added to our videos, which means it'll be like a little overlay logo of Camtasia on your finished product you might put on YouTube. If you're okay with that, go for it. However, I want our videos to be as professional as possible, so I actually do recommend just going ahead and buying the software with our discount today. That way you can just have the final product look consistent for your whole career of making videos, and maybe you can convince your parents to help you out with it or buy it as a gift because this is educational software. So could be used for school or university. So just sign in to start the free trial now, or like I did, enter the software key because I purchased it. Alright, that software key is back in my account, products. Just gotta make sure I get the right one. So 2019, I'm gonna copy just the letters. and then drop that in. And unlock. All right, and we're in. So hopefully you see this page too. It's gonna say there's a few things you should know. Register your license. So if you, okay, definitely need the microphone. And the camera.
Welcome to Camtasia.
And there's the welcome video.
This sample project will provide a quick tour and get you started. If you're looking for more in-depth tutorials that walk you through the
Okay, so really awesome. Maybe you don't even need me, you know? Camtasia is really good people, but we're gonna show you all this, how a real user uses Camtasia, which can be a little bit more beginner friendly because they're experts. All right, you got your tutorials, need help, stay in touch, and there's a great community here. So that all said, let's start building. We're just gonna click on the Camtasia icon in our dock down here. And now we're gonna click on File, New Project. All right, and welcome to your Camtasia dashboard. Gonna bring it in a little bit. Now what I could do is go through each individual tab and explain to you like the background behind why they need transitions or behaviors or something, but I figure you'd rather just start creating a new screencast video and then we can sort of stumble into these features and use them as we need. So let's do it. So the first thing we need is something to actually record, and a lot of my recording goes on in Chrome right here, and I just picked out a cool YouTube video that we can play around with just to show you the basic effects while we actually watch something cool. Oh, lands it. Oh, with the hard flip. Okay, before I get carried away. All right, so we want our Chrome window open. We're gonna record this as if you were to make an educational video on the internet. Maybe it's an instructional video about how to use Snapchat or how to do something on YouTube, or just how to use some sort of software, like some stock market investing software that you like using. So you're on the internet, you have that open, you also have Camtasia open, and to actually record, you just need to click on the red record icon up here. That's gonna remove Camtasia, and it's gonna give you this little quick bar, and using this, you'll choose what's on. So obviously, iMac recording is on, we wanna record our screen. This turns on your face, so there I am right now. You can use your built-in microphone, which is just the microphone on your Mac or your PC, and I'm not sure what this does, so we're gonna leave this alone. But what I always do is I use a different microphone, which is a Yeti mic connected via USB. Way more powerful, really soft, nice podcasting sound, and it's great for beginners. So I'll leave you a link to Yeti in the comments below if you want to get one. They are a total game changer and a life changer, and your fans will definitely notice and like it. So you always have to make sure you choose the right microphone if you have a different option. And then what I like doing is just a sound test, like you know, make sure the sound is actually working. So we can see the decibel meter is actually changing when I talk, which is good, and I'm just gonna drag the volume to the right. Nothing worse than recording a whole tutorial and realizing your USB wasn't plugged in fully or something and it didn't work. So you're almost ready to start recording, but you do need to make sure that what you're recording is the right size, okay? So if we X out of this and go back to our main window, I want you to bring your mouse over to the center panel right here, and I just kind of dragged a little bit out with my mouse so we can see the window where our screencast will fit into. So we're not going to be recording anything outside here or editing anything outside here. It's just all in this main editing window, which is the darker black. What I want to do is resize this so it matches the size of our internet browser. And to do that, we're going to click on the drop down arrow at the top up here, click project settings, and then make sure your dimensions are set to 1080p, which is in my opinion the best for YouTube. 1080p is also 1920 by 1080. If you want to go for the 4K Ultra HD, by all means do it. I'm just not sure that'll work if you have a smaller laptop. So 1080p is what I've always done. It gets you that nice HD setting on YouTube when you actually upload your final product. No need to change the width, height, color, or frame rate right now. This is good to start creating, and we're gonna click apply. Okay, so next I'm gonna open up our internet, and using this application right here, which is the window resizer, I'm gonna make sure that the screen is on 1920 by 1080. If my screen is bigger, if my internet browser is bigger, then clicking on this and then moving to 1920 by 1080 we'll make sure it fits. And that way when we're actually editing what we record, it won't go like outside this black area, which is really annoying because then you'll have to like eventually cut off part of what you recorded. If you're using Chrome, you can get the window resizer for free. I'm just gonna click on the manage extensions so you can see what it looks like. It's just window resizer with this logo, and it's of course free. Okay, so let's record. Click on record. All right, and then let's turn our face on. I'm also going to drag the volume down so it's not at 100%. I realize that makes the levels go a little bit too high and you might hear things like a car driving by or the rain outside that you don't want. So about halfway should be good. There'll be some other ways to change the volume after you make your recording as well too. So that should be good, and let's start recording. So right away Camtasia is going to go away. It's going to count down and then let you do your thing. But if you're like me, you might stop the recording right away like that because you didn't know what you wanted to say or something just didn't feel right. So to stop the recording, you can just press the red button like I did right there in the upper right corner of your screen. Don't worry that I have the other red button right there. That's because I'm recording a recording. You'll just have one of them. And then if things didn't go right, I just want to show you how to delete the file and start over. So you just click down here, anywhere on the track line, and delete, and then click the other one and delete. And then you could click the whole media file and just delete that. Okay, so now that we know what we want to say, let's try again. Record. And then one technique I find really essential is choosing a custom region for your screen as opposed to your entire screen. So we're going to click on the drop down and choose custom region. And then it's going to allow me to actually pinpoint just around the internet browser. In fact, you really just need to click anywhere on the screen you want to record. Could be smaller or bigger. And then just click OK. Alright, so now it's locked in around our internet browser width and height, and we can just start recording. Okay, so once you're actually recording a screencast within Camtasia, it pretty much goes away. And you do you. You know, you're talking, you're clicking, maybe you're showing people how to focus on the subscribe button right here because you want more subscribers. You're opening up new tabs, you're using Google, you're getting some cool new softwares and putting it all together. You won't see Camtasia too much, except for you'll see that nice line around your recording window. If I were to actually zoom off my browser, that recording window should get bigger. However, if you take your browser outside the window, you'll just record whatever is behind it. So, background of the desert, browser, and I wouldn't really recommend dragging a window outside that box because it was fit perfectly. Now you have to just reposition it kind of awkwardly. Alright, so our little recording is just the skateboarding video. Cool. We can grab like 5 to 10 more seconds of that. Great job, MK Skateboarding Compilations. Super cool. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit slow right now, but wowzers, what a trick. Alright, maybe record one more. Okay, great. Now we can just stop our recording because the point of this is really to use the Camtasia software. So I'm going to stop it. Great, and now we have a nice recording that we can edit right here. The first thing you'll notice are the sound waves, and sound waves eventually become your friend. As you're recording, you'll want to remove the dead space, and you'll want to keep the good parts of you talking because no one likes watching you just sit there and think. So if I click play, and play by the way is the space bar. Okay, so once you're actually recording a screencast within Camtasia, then you can see what you made, and you can click your mouse on top of the track bar and click and hold and drag to see different parts of the video. That's called scrubbing. Wouldn't really recommend dragging. And now we basically have a video inside a video. So that's pretty cool. Well, how do we actually manipulate this video content down below? Well, my first and favorite tool is going to be the ripple delete. When you ripple delete something, you get rid of a section and you make the sections that you want zip together or ripple together. To do that, to do the ripple delete, just hold Command down on your keyboard, click and drag, and you'll probably want to delete both the upper bar and the lower bar. The upper bar is going to be me talking right here. So this little window is the upper bar, and then the lower bar is the screencast itself. So that's the internet. So once we've selected the area we want to delete, you're just going to hit Command Delete, and you'll get the ripple delete. We can also hit Command Z to undo it, and you'll see that if you just hit delete like I'm doing right now, you'll delete the right part of the video, but you won't actually ripple things together. If you want to do it that way, you just have to click and select the upper bar, then hit Command or Control on a PC on the lower bar, and then just manually click and drag them back together. Alright, so that's how to ripple delete. If you just wanted to break up your recording, you can just bring your cursor to wherever you wanted to break it up, right click on top of the cursor, and click Split Selected. That'll actually make it so you can move one of the clips, or a portion of it, around to a different location. I'm going to hit Command Z to get rid of that. Okay, so clearly you can just click, and when any clip is selected, you can just hold your mouse. You can just click and hold your mouse and then move that wherever you might need it. Wouldn't recommend doing it like this though, because then you'll have audios that don't line up, but just an example. If you wanted to actually drag something around on top of the screen, you do have the ability to click on top of your editing window up here and hold and drag. And if you publish something like this, then what the users would see would be a bunch of black bars around it, and then whatever you left in the middle of the picture. So we generally want to keep that nice and lined up around the edges. You can also click and move the portion of yourself. I think they called that FaceTime. And you can click and drag that bigger, or just position it right in the corner. Alright, and again I just press spacebar to play. Alright, so let's say you use the tools we covered so far and you make a really nice recording, but you want to record again. What I like doing then is just clicking on the move to the end button to move your cursor all the way to the end of what you recorded, and then just recording again. Alright, so we're going to click record. We have our custom region selected, and we can just start recording. Alright, so here I am explaining how to use Snapchat, or Fidelity, or how to play Fortnite on the computer, whatever you want to do. Worked out really great, so now I'm going to stop the recording. And now we have 2 media files in the media bin. To line them up, you just click on the second one, right click, and then add to timeline at playhead, at which point it'll jump in wherever your playhead, which I called a cursor before, is. Add a timeline at playhead. Might not line up perfectly, in which case you just have to click and drag it down and pop it in. Occasionally you will get parts of the video that don't totally match up. If you look really close down here, you can see that there's the screencasting bar might not match up perfectly with the audio, in which case you can just click on one end and just kind of drag it in like that until it lines up, because you don't want any gaps. Alright, perfect. So now that we know how to look at the sound bars and do the ripple delete, let's cover some basic features like how to zoom in. In order to zoom in on a part of the screen, we're going to need to use a animation. So let's click animations, and my favorite one is just custom. You'll just click on the custom animation and drag it on top of the screencast, which again is the bottom bar. So the bottom bar is like the internet window, and the top bar is me over here. So we want this to apply to the internet browser, and what you want to do right away is just double click on the front of the arrow. Alright, what I'm going to do also is expand our entire track bar so that we can look at things a little more in depth from a granular point of view, and we can see the arrow got a little bigger. Okay, so the reason I double clicked on the front of the arrow was because that's where I want this animation to go. It's going to start at the back of the arrow and end at the front of the arrow, because obviously time moves from left to right. So make sure your track bar is right at the front of the arrow. Oops, I guess I clicked on the wrong part. Make sure your track bar is right at the front of the arrow, and then let's come up to scale, and let's just zoom it in a little. Alright, after you zoom in, you can click on top of the video window and just position it to where you want to zoom. Like maybe you want to zoom in on this like button right there. And then once you've dragged your screen to the right place, just let go, and let's move our track bar outside the animation and play through it. So I'm just going to click spacebar to play through it, and we can see we have a nice zoom. Let's go back to the front of the arrow, and let's go ahead and add an annotation. So that would just be something like an arrow. We can click on the arrow and drag it right on top of the screen, just like so. In a super easy fashion, you can also drag on the boxes and resize it. This is something that you'll learn secondhand before you know it. Alright, so right when it zooms in, it's going to have an arrow pop in. We don't need the arrow for that long, so we're going to reduce the time that the arrow is actually on the screen. And then you can just change up the text here, which is the default ABC, by double clicking on it and writing click like, or whatever you want to say. Okay, now let's play through that one more time. We're going to bring our trackpad outside the animation, click space, and play through it. We can grab like 5 to 10 more seconds of that. Alright, very nice. So you just learned how to zoom in on the screen and actually apply an annotation. There are a wide variety of annotations, and you can use your creativity to design these however you want, with different colors, fonts, themes, you name it. Generally, I like to keep it simple. Overproducing the animations can actually distract people from what you want them to do with your screencast, so keep that in mind. Lastly, we want our screen to go back to normal. We don't want it to stay zoomed in for this whole time. You can grab like 5 to 10 more seconds of that. Right, so what we need to do is restore it. So let's go back to animations and apply a restore animation. Just drag that down to wherever you want the screen to come back to normal at. Again, make sure you put it on the right bar. So below is the white screen, which is the internet browser, and the bar above is me right here. Alright, so we just applied the restore. Now I'm going to go outside the whole animation and see how it works. We can grab like 5 to 10 more seconds of that. And then the screen comes back to the perfect size. Of course, we don't want it to wait that long, so we can just drag our arrow so it restores right after the click here disappears. Alright, not bad at all. After you've made some good progress, I always like saving our recording, so just go to File, Save As, and we're going to change it from untitled to like first Camtasia project, and save it. It'll take a little time because these are larger files, but that worked even faster than normal because you got the newest and best version. Alright, if you have any questions so far, just drop them in the comments for me. I'll try to get back to you the same day. Next, I'd like to show you how to blur out part of your window, because maybe you're applying payment information or doing something on a screen where part of it is like your social media crowd and part of it is what you actually want to show. To blur out part of your screen, you're just going to go to Annotations again and click on the droplet. The droplet is a blur or a highlight, so you can see you can use a highlighter, but I just want to go with the most simple blur and drag that on top of the screen. You can see that whether the blur or the arrow is like above or below doesn't really matter. It'll still show up the same for your end user. Okay, so now let's move our playhead outside the animation and then click and great job, see that it blurred everything other than what's in this nice little window here. So that's a cool feature if you want to blur out most of the screen. We can also delete that blur though and get the selective blur, which will just blur out whatever section you drag this over. So maybe you don't want someone to see your videolytics over there. Perfect, you've achieved a nice blur. Great job, MK Skateboarding Compilations. Just make sure that you keep that blur on the screen for as long as you actually need it. Okay, great. So what if you have part of your screen that needs a little help? What if you actually need to put some text in to explain what's going on? Maybe you even forgot to say something. What you can do is go to Annotations again, click on the text, and then just throw in a little speech bubble. So we can drag that in wherever we want. That's just called a call out. And then bring our playhead back to the annotation itself. And you can see we have a nice speech bubble. You can also get the background to go away just by, nope, not doing that. You just want to highlight the background itself, which is the Google browser. Then come back to Animations, click and drag Custom over in the right location again, down at the bottom. Make sure you're double clicked at the front of the arrow, and then just click on top of your window and drag and remove the background so it'll just kind of shoot over to the right. One thing that's kind of cool is you can also rotate it, say around a y-axis. Just click on the Y rotation in your properties up here and just move it over a little bit. So now when we play over, we'll have the call out and you'll have the animation. And that can really help your audience focus on your text or whatever you want them to do. Alright, of course we want to grab a restore also so our background doesn't stay all the way over to the right. And just drop it in there. The restore works magic. Alright, by now you're probably wondering what transitions are, so let's go ahead and apply a transition from the first recording we did to the second recording over here. That's from 9/9/2019 2 to 9/9/2019 3. Alright, let's see what these transitions do. Let's grab maybe one of the more advanced ones like the flip and just click and drag. And we're going to want to put this one actually in between the two clips. So instead of on top, right in between the visuals. Now we can move our playhead outside the transition.
Not sure about skateboarding. So I'm going to stop it. So here I am explaining how to use
And there you are.
Or,
Maybe you wake up, or maybe you go from daylight to darkness, or just from one room in the house to another in your recording. That is how to apply a transition. Speaking of other types of recordings, like maybe in your living room or outside, if you go back to media, this media bin can accommodate all sorts of files, such as from an iPhone or an Android. To get one of those files onto the media bin, you just need to open up that file on your computer. Alright, and I'm going to have like a bunch of random videos here. So this is just me talking in a different video, and all you need to do is select, import one selected. Then you'll get to your list of imported files, and I like doing it the old-fashioned way by just clicking on the video file and dragging it to the desktop. That really isolates the action for me, and that lets me know that that one video actually came on the desktop. And there it is. It's just a .mov file. So then you can go into your media bin, right-click, and click Import Media, and you can easily find that new movie on your desktop. Just select it, import it, and you can now work with a different type of recording, which I actually just did on my phone. Let's click the End Fast Forward button to go to the end of our recording, and now let's just drag this guy in. If it slows down like this, it probably means that file isn't quite in your media bin yet, or it's still thinking. So a better practice is actually to right-click, add to timeline at playhead. Alright guys and gals, just a couple more tips and tricks here, and then we are going to learn how to publish our video to YouTube and also improve the video SEO. So let's say you're sick of looking at yourself. We have this little box here, which is the FaceTime of myself, and it's also the volume of the video. The volume is tied to it, so we can't just delete that one particular section, otherwise it'll go silent. But we can remove it at any time. You can just drag your picture off the screen. So now it would not show up in a published video. Or you can actually create an animation that will get rid of it. So let's say we wanted to like say goodbye to everyone and do a hand motion towards the left of my shoulder and then just get out of there. You can do that with a animation. And of course we'll use our favorite animation, which is just the custom. So just grab the custom and now drag it on top of the FaceTime of yourself, wherever you want it to go. Make sure your playhead is at the front of the animation, and then just click and hold on the FaceTime of yourself and drag it off the screen, ideally in a straight line. So now when we move the playhead back and play over, that's how it'll go. And like we saw before, that is because we made the custom animation end with the FaceTime being off the screen and start and anything before it, the FaceTime is on the screen.
Or how to play Fortnite on the computer, whatever you want to do.
Okay, pretty cool. So the last feature I want to show you guys, which is extremely important for instructional videos. I don't use it a ton because I've found that just having a mouse works well, but if people get lost, or if they're commenting to you that they can't follow along, or if they're posting comments to you that they can't follow along, then you should provide them with a cursor effect, and my favorite one is the highlight. So let's see how that looks. Let's just drag it on top of, where are we? Let's drag it on top of part of the tutorial. We're going to use the lower bar because that's the part where we're actually mousing around on top of the screen. We can also increase the amount of space we have in our dock by clicking and holding and dragging up. And now let's play over that part of the video. Bring your playhead back and let's see where that mouse goes.
Okay, great. Now we can just stop our recording because the point.
Okay, so the mouse left the screen, but wherever the mouse goes, it will follow. You can also open up that particular cursor effect and change the settings right here, or you can just right click and remove the effect. Alright, so my mouse is being pretty worthless there, but you get the picture of how to follow the mouse along on the screen. Alright guys, I think that's plenty for this tutorial because these are the main features I use when editing and publishing my screencasts, which have been hugely instrumental for my own passive income. this is more than enough to create a great screencast tutorial using only Camtasia. But how do we publish our video? Well, assuming we're all done and we like how everything looks, let's just make sure that from start to end that everything makes sense and there's no extra footage or extra just empty space where we're not talking, and it looks like there is. So let's cut it off right here at the end. I'm gonna hit Command and click and hold to do the ripple delete, and then just drag. So I'm just holding and dragging all the way to the end, and now I'm just gonna hit Command delete. All right, so we make sure that we know exactly where the video ends and we're good to publish. So to publish, you can click on the share button in the upper right, and then you have the options of doing something like YouTube. Now I think when I published my first screencast, which was how to make a WordPress self-hosted blog in under 10 minutes, I tried the YouTube option just because obviously you want it to end up on YouTube. That seems to be the perfect way to do it and nothing will get messed up. In fact, when you publish to YouTube and in general, when you go from one software application like Camtasia to another one like YouTube, both of which are constantly changing and updating, sometimes things can go wrong. It's hard to pinpoint what, but I've found the best results are actually if you don't go directly to YouTube, but instead take an intermediate step of going to your desktop, publishing to your desktop, and then taking the file and publishing that to YouTube. If you really want to save time, try the YouTube option, but I personally have had better results doing one intermediate step. So if you want to do it my way, we are just going to click share, and then we're going to go with the local file option. Click local file. You can rename it if you want, and you can see that we're going to get the .mp4 file, which is perfect. That's a great file format to upload right to YouTube from your desktop, and we can see it's going into our documents. Let's just change that to our desktop. All right, and now click export. So now's a good time to take a little break. It can take up to 5 or 10 minutes to get this file exported, converting it from a Camtasia file to an MP4. So this is pretty quick, and if you make longer, like 2 hour, 2.5 hour WordPress tutorials like I do, then it can take about forever to get this part done. All right, cool, our export is finished. Let's click reveal in Finder. Might look a little different on PC, sorry if that's the case. And here is where I'm gonna show you 2 steps where you can increase your video SEO as I promised. Full disclaimer, I'm not 100% sure these things work for YouTube SEO, but they're certainly worth trying because I think they work. And when it comes to SEO, you want to do everything right that you possibly can. Okay, so the first thing we can do now that we have an MP4 file that we couldn't do if we went right to YouTube is right click on the file. And now we're going to click Get Info. And here's where you can add a few keywords and a description to your video, like Camtasia tutorial, how to use Camtasia. Don't go too crazy, 2 or 3 or even 4 is enough. And now you can add some comments. So this video explains how to create and publish a screencast using Camtasia 2019. Great, make sure you get the spelling right. Cool. And that's what I like doing. Now we can close it and it'll be saved. And the second thing I like doing to improve YouTube SEO is pretty out there. I don't expect you to do this, but if you make longer videos, this step will reduce the size of it, which I think YouTube likes. They have like all these millions of hours of videos going up, so they would want the size of videos to be less, I think. We're going to use a tool called Handbrake for this. All right, so Handbrake is something you can Google and then download. Just make sure you get the right version. I don't believe I paid for it, but let me know any questions in the comments, and it's just Handbrake version 1.12 I'm using. So what we do is Handbrake asks us what kind of file we want to grab. So you're just going to go to your desktop, you're going to find the project, select it and open it, and then you're just going to make sure the settings look good. So I like having web optimized, align AV start checked, MP4 file, and basically just looks like my window right here, nothing too fancy. And then you just click start. Camtasia will then go through, Handbrake will then go through a process of encoding it to a much smaller file. Doesn't take that long, and what you're going to get is a file which is hopefully in megabytes instead of gigabytes. So again, anything you can do to make YouTube or wherever you're going to host your video happy is a good thing. We can see the percentage going up down here. Our video is getting there. And while that's happening, I'm going to open up YouTube and click on the upload video button, upload it. and get ready to drop in our new file. Okay. Alright, then it says put down that cocktail, your first encode is ready. Click on the notification and it should find our file. It's going to be in a slightly different location than the MP4 was originally, so we can see we're now in movies. And what we need to do is just click on the correct file, which you can see is smaller. So it's 19.1 megabytes in the resulting file from Handbrake instead of 181 megabytes, which is a huge difference. Really good to get that file size down, but keep the video quality, of course. And we just need to pull in that file over to YouTube and it will upload. So I'm not going to do that because, well, you know, who cares? It's free and I got plenty of time. I can delete it later. So here we're uploading to YouTube, guys. That is the final step, and I wish you all the best publishing your first educational screencast tutorial to YouTube, Vimeo, or wherever you're going to do it. I hope this video was helpful in teaching you how to create your own screencasts and pass on your expertise to your audiences on the internet. If you want a part 2, please make sure to ask it. Please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, guys, if you learned anything here. That helps the channel a ton. You can, of course, use my links below the video for any resources you need. And if you want any more help, drop me a note in the comments. I'm there every day helping out. This was a really fun project to make because, like I said, I use Camtasia every single day. So much to make tutorials. I couldn't do it without them. So thanks for watching. Thanks to Camtasia. I'm Greg Ryan, and I'll talk to you soon.